Hey guys, it's me Rebecca. So I'm here to do my January wrap up as well, discuss a couple books I'm planning to read in February so far. So yeah, let's get started with the first book I finished in January, which I did carry over from December, which was Blue Sisters by Coco Mellers. And this is about the three Blue Sisters are exceptional and exceptionally different. Avery, the eldest and a recovering heroin addict turned straight-laced lawyer, lives with her wife in London. Bonnie, a former boxer, works as a bouncer in Los Angeles following a devastating defeat. And Lucky, the youngest, models in Paris while trying to outrun her hard-partying ways. They also had a fourth sister, Nikki, whose unexpected death left the family reeling. A year later, as they each navigate grief, addiction, and ambition, they find they must return to New York to stop the sale of the apartment they were raised in. But coming home is never as easy as it seems, as the sisters reckon with the disappointments of their childhood and the loss of the only person who held them together. They realize that the greatest secrets that they've been keeping might not have been from one another but from themselves. And with this, it's really less about trying to prevent the sale and really their sister, the one who died, Nikki, she was living there and they all come together to pack up her things, and it's a year after she's died, and we see how it affects them. And I did find it interesting in seeing their feelings towards their parents' health. It seemed that their mom just took too much on her plate with 4 children and didn't ask for help, and it doesn't really seem she was there for them, and how the father was drunk, and as well their mother just didn't seem to care for them and left it to the oldest to take care of the younger ones. And as well, she, I guess, didn't really want children. It was expected of her to, be a wife, to be a mother, so there's that. And we explored the relationship these 3 sisters have with one another, how they could be down one another's throats, arguing to being there for one another. And their feelings about Nikki's death, how she was found by one of them, and how it had affected that sister, and how it affected the others, and how Nikki, she had endometriosis, and she was just in so much pain and wasn't able to get answers or put into language, or I guess numbers, how bad the pain was. Nikki had options, and she didn't want to go down the route that would make the pain go away, as it would prevent one of her dreams from coming true. And how all the sisters, they all were addicted to something, whether that was alcohol and drugs, pain, and not feeling good, and wanting to be normal, and how they handle it and either work to get over it, come together when it takes one of them. So, yeah, and overall, I did enjoy this, but I just didn't really feel as connected to it as I felt with the others' debut, Cleopatra and Frankenstein, probably due to the fact I don't have siblings, so I don't really know what it's like to have that sisterly relationship. But overall, I still liked it. I found it interesting, and I gave it 4 stars. And the next book I finished in January was He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. However, this is the sequel in ideology, and the first book is She Who Became the Sun. And if you notice that gap in my shelf, I forgot to take this off before I filmed it. I think there should be a synopsis for She Who Became the Sun, but I don't see it on this cover, on the book I own. But it's really about this person named Zhu, and She and her brother, they lived in this village that was, I guess, dealing with a drought, and one day their father takes them to a fortune teller who tells her brother that he will have a great fortune, and essentially, well, she will not really have a future. And one day these, I guess, robbers come to their village, kill their father, and the brother does kind of what essentially, and he dies, and she takes his future. And we just follow there as she becomes a monk, and how they get into, I guess, this war and having to deal with this person named Uru, who they see a connection with, they see a similarity with this person. So, and with He Who Drowned the World, I did like how the characters were trying to reach their goals, and how some of them were successful and others aren't, and how there were betrayals and backstabbers and people working behind the scenes to get what they want, and how characters lose people they care about and how it affects them, and how their actions and motivations affect them. And overall I enjoyed this, and I gave it 4 stars. And the next book I finished in January was The Keeper of Night by Kylie Lee Baker, and this is about one Scarborough has been collecting souls in the London streets for centuries, expected to obey the harsh hierarchy of the Reapers, who despise her due to her mysterious mother and even more mysterious Shinigami powers. One conceals her emotions and avoids her tormentors as best as she can. When her failure to control her developing Shinigami abilities drives one out of London, she flees to Japan in search of the acceptance she's never gotten from her fellow Weepers. Accompanied by her younger brother, the only being on Earth to care for her, one enters Yomi, the Japanese underworld, to serve the goddess of death, only to learn that here too she must prove herself worthy. Determined to earn respect, one accepts an impossible task: find and eliminate 3 dangerous yokai demons with help from only her brother, and a new ally who might be less than trustworthy. One will learn how far she'll go to claim her place at Death's Side. And with this, I did enjoy this first book, and we see when she's not accepted anywhere on either side of her identity. Like, she grew up in England and she's not accepted there because she's Shinigami, she's half Shinigami. Yet when she is in Japan, she isn't accepted for not being Shinigami enough and not looking like one, and how she's searching for acceptance and figuring out who she is. And we see as punishment for what she did that the higher-ups have crossed out her name, marking her for death. And we see how death is poisoning her and causing her to kill plants just by a touch, and how others can sense it in her, and it scares her as she doesn't know if she can now want it. She worries she's becoming a person she doesn't really recognize, that she's becoming evil, but she's just willing to do anything to find acceptance. And there is a bit of a romance which towards the end is felt, a lot of things happen towards the end that is felt a bit rushed, I would say, but I don't know, overall I enjoyed it and I gave it 4 stars. And the next book I was able to finish in January was Open Water by Caleb Azumi Nelson. And this is about, in a crowded London pub, 2 young people meet. Both are black British, both won scholarships to private schools where they struggle to belong. Both are now artists, he a photographer, she a dancer. Both are trying to make their mark in a world that by turns celebrates and rejects them. Tenderly they fall in love, but 2 people who seem destined to be together can still be torn apart by fear and violence. And over the course of a year, they find their relationship tested by forces beyond their control. Narrated with deep intimacy, Open Water is at once an achingly beautiful love story and a potent insight into ways masculinity that asks what it means to be a person in a world that sees you only as a black body. To be vulnerable when you are only respected for strength. To find safety in love only to lose it. Yeah, and overall, I very much enjoyed this. I enjoyed the writing. I found it extremely beautiful. And with this, we do see how there is something more than a friendship between them that everyone around them can see, but they deny it, claiming to be this best friends. It's almost like white person wrong time sort of situation at the beginning, and then things just come into play that allows it for it to be the right time essentially. And we see how he wants more, but she isn't ready as it seems. She is scared, how we see his feelings towards the life around him from people and their grief, to how people are in fear, not please brutality in their biases or fears towards black people, fears put in place by broken system, how they are not even as seen as people, not only things that they are seen only as essentially things that are violent and dangerous and shouldn't know their place, and how he feels a kinship with other black people as they are just living life on earth. And I very much enjoyed seeing their interactions, how there was a vulnerability between them that they didn't show other people, and it's really about allowing yourself to express yourself in any way through dancing, music, books, photography in a world that is trying to suppress you. How you have to choose when you're in open water to open your mouth in risk of drowning or to keep it closed and suffocating. And to me this felt like open water in general. This seemed like, I guess it's similar to being open. Open to being exposed. And overall I very much enjoyed it and I gave it 5 stars. And the next book I was able to finish in January was Anxious People by Frederick Bachman, and this was translated by Neil Smith. And this is about looking at real estate isn't usually a life or death situation, but apartment open house becomes thus that when a failed bank robber bursts in and takes a group of 8 strangers hostage. Each of them carries a lifetime of grievances, hurts, secrets, and passions that are ready to boil over. None of them is entirely who they appear to be. In short, they are the worst group of hostages in the world. But as the minutes tick by, they begin to suspect that the criminal mastermind holding them hostage might be more in need of rescuing than they are. As the authorities and the media surround the premises, these reluctant allies will reveal surprising truths about themselves and set in motion a chain of events so unexpected that even they can hardly explain what happens next. And yeah, I feel like this is a somewhat okay summary reading it again. However, when I read it first, I thought it was a bit misleading as there was not much anxiety in the with the group as well, and as well we mostly follow like the aftermath of the police trying to figure out where is the bank robber, where did they go, and how, and we also do get glimpses of the actual hostage situation and how it's like none of them are scared of the fact that the perpetrator does have a weapon. And I did enjoy seeing the fears and anxieties people have about life and worries of being, good enough to be a spouse or a parent, and what people will do for those they love, and how strangers will look out for one another in times of need. And there was an understanding between people who have gone through similar things and can provide wisdom to those currently going through things. And I did like how we have characters of different ages, like some who are older and should really be expected to know what they're doing and how to behave and what it takes to be in a relationship and to be successful, I guess. And how some of them have lived lives and have experienced that younger characters have yet to have and are about to, and how those characters still have their own worries about life and their relationship. So I did like seeing how everyone just was there for one another, and overall I gave it 4 stars. And the next book I was able to finish in January was Thin Places by Kay Cronister. And this is a collection of short stories about a not quite human puppeteer menaces guests at a hotel on the edge of a swamp. A composer visits a remote Slavic village where villagers perform soundless songs that accompany violent sacrifices. 4 reclusive women construct children out of unconventional materials in an unnerving mansion. The arrival of a lighthouse keeper's daughter portends disaster for an insular island community with bizarre traditions. And with this, I think for the first half I just didn't really feel connected to any of the stories. Like, I think I just found a lot of them more like ideas and I just didn't really feel connected to the writing style, but as this collection went on, I did like it more and more, and I liked how the stories were around towns and houses, places that have histories and people and relationships to mothers. And yeah, overall I think in the end I did like this, and I gave it 4 stars. And the next book I was able to finish in January was The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I got my copy at a library book, so it didn't have a dust jacket, so I'm just gonna read a synopsis from Goodreads, and I'm not gonna hold up this. And on Goodreads it says, in 1972, where workers in Pottstown, Pennsylvania were digging the foundations for new housing development, the last thing they expected to uncover was a human skeleton. Who the skeleton was and how it got buried there were just 2 of the long-held secrets that had been kept for decades by the residents of Chicken Hill. The dilapidated neighborhood where immigrant Jews and African Americans lived side by side, sharing ambitions and sorrows. Chicken Hill was where Marsh and Chana Lodolo lived when Chana ran the Heaven and Earth grocery store, which served the neighborhood's quirky collection of blacks and European immigrants, helped by her husband Marsh, a Romanian-born theater owner who integrated the town's first dance hall. When a state came looking for a deaf black child, claiming that the boy needed to be institutionalized, Chicken House residents, moved by Chana's kindness and the courage of a local black worker named Nate Timblin, banded together to keep the boy safe. And with this, I enjoyed seeing the different people in this part of town and what they think it meant to be American and live in America, how some see it as a good thing while others don't share that sentiment. You also do see some racist beliefs that people whose family has been in this country for a long time have about certain immigrants and how they think they're making this country worse. And we see the community come together for a goal or a cause, or when someone is ill and people from different backgrounds are there for one another when people are going through tough times or there is a tough situation. And yeah, overall I did like it, and I gave it 4 stars. And the last book I finished in January was Wild and Wicked Things by Francesca May. And this is about on Quo Island, people whisper where magic lurks just below the surface. But when Annie Mason arrives at the idyllic summer getaway, she never expects to discover her enigmatic new neighbor is a witch. When she witnesses a confrontation between her best friend Bee and an infamous Emmeline Delacroix at one of the Quo Island's extravagant parties, she is drawn into a glittering haunted world, a world where the boundaries of wickedness are tested and the cause of illicit blood bargains might be death. And with this one, we see how Annie she came to the island after her father's death. A father she was estranged from. He left her and her mother when She was essentially newborn, and he did die. And she's there to high up loose ends him, essentially, to go through his house and whatnot. And she happens to want a cottage next to an infamous house and sees parties there, and there is discussion of a war, and I'm assuming because we did get a year that it's around the First World War and how afterwards prohibition against magic came into effect. I would have liked to have gotten details of it, like was it normal people fighting against witches or witches being involved with other countries? Like was it, like how did this play out? Like why was there a prohibition? I'm guessing it was like instead of alcohol it was a prohibition against magic. And we also see how Annie and Emmeline, there's a connection there, that they're almost teaser to one another, and that teaser kind of formed instantaneously, and I would have liked to have gotten more of that, like why between those two, like it just felt instant, I guess, like I don't really know how else to describe it, so yeah. And we do see how Annie, she's conflicted about magic because of what her mother taught her, how she was raised to see it as a bad thing, yet when she learned someone in her life was a witch, she's conflicted, like is magic a good thing, is it a bad thing, like what is it? So yeah, and I do have to say I do like, I guess the relationship between Emmeline and Annie, how they're drawn to one another, how even through Annie should keep her distance, she finds herself drawn to Emmeline, and how they bond together to help be. And yeah, overall I enjoyed it and I gave it 4 stars. And now, that is everything I read in January and what I plan to read in February so far. Everything else will be in my February wrap up. But next I'm planning to read Anatomy, a Love Story by Dana Schwartz. And this is about when Hazel Sinnott is a lady who wants to be a surgeon more than she wants to marry. Jack Kerr is a resurrection man who's just trying to survive in a city where it's too easy to die. When the two of them have a chance encounter outside the Royal Edinburgh Anatomist Society, Hazel thinks nothing of it first, but after she gets kicked out of renowned surgeons Dr. B. Chemp's lectures for being the wrong gender, she realizes that her new acquaintance might be more helpful than she thought. Because Hazel has made a deal with Dr. Beecham. If she passed the medical examination on her own, he will allow her to continue her medical career. Without official lessons, Hazel will need more than just her books. She'll need corpses to study. Luckily, she's made an acquaintance of someone who digs them up for a living. But Jack has his own problems. Strange men have been seen skulking around cemeteries. His friends are disappearing off the streets, and the dreaded woman fever, which wiped out thousands a few years ago, is back with a vengeance. Nobody important cares until Hazel. Now, Hazel and Jack must work together to uncover the secrets buried not just in unmarked graves, but in the very heart of Edinburgh society. So yeah, I'm very excited about that. And after that, I do plan to read I'm Not Done With You Yet by Jessie Hughes and Tonto. And this is about Jane's unhappy, a struggling middle-aged writer whose novels barely command 4 figures. She feels trapped in an underwhelming marriage, scrapping by to pay a crippling Bay Area mortgage for a house, a life she's never wanted. There's only ever been one person she's cared about, one person who truly understood her. Thalia, Jane's best and only friend nearly a decade ago during their creative writing days at Oxford. It was the only good year of Jane's life. Cobblestones and books and damp English air. Heady wine and sweet cider and Thalia and Liz Scylla. But then one night ruined everything. The blood-soaked night that should have bound Thalia to Jane forever, but instead made her lose her completely. Thalia disappeared without a trace, and Jane has been unable to find her. I don't know. Because there she is, her name on the top of the New York Times bestseller list. A Pleasant Death by Thalia Ashcroft. When Jane discovers a Facebook post from Thalia on her website about attending a book convention, New York City in a week. Can't wait to see you there. She can't read either. She'll go to New York too. Credit card bill be damned, and this time she'll do things right. Jane won't lose Thalia again. So yeah. So that is everything I read in January and what I plan to read in February so far. And yeah, that's it for this video. So if you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment below telling me what you've been reading recently. If you want to, please subscribe to this channel. And if you want to follow me on any social media, then all those links are in the down bar below. I'll see you guys next time I post a video. Bye.